Welcome back. Our first gorgeous guest is Mariam Basadien. She's an academic and researcher specializing in information systems and currently serving as a new generation of academics program. That's NGap, which I referred to just now, lecturer at the University of Cape Town, and her work focuses extensively on the intersection of advanced technology and human development. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program, and what a pleasure to have you on the show today. And of course, many, many congratulations on being chosen as the PhD candidate. I just think that it is such a huge honor. Well done to you.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran so much for having me on the show, and I'm quite excited to present South Africa and my institution at the ISIS Doctoral Consortium.
Oh, subhanallah, subhanallah, may it all go very, very well for you, Mariam. Am I pronouncing your surname correctly?
Yes, so Mariam Jacobs Basadien.
Oh, great stuff. Okay. As I've said, once again, heartiest congratulations on this global recognition. Can you briefly take us through your academic journey and what led you, of all things, to information systems? It's something that still goes over my head. I can't make head or tail of IT.
Okay, so before I answer that, I think it'll help to explain in simple terms what information systems actually is. So, information systems is really about how people and technology work together to solve problems and improve decision making, right? So, it's not just about the technology itself, but also how it's used in real life settings like education, business, and society. And my own academic journey was not linear, it was not a straight one. And as a young person growing up in the Cape Flats, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I'm sure many young women and students face the same dilemma. And I was not always exposed to the different options that are currently out there. So, given that, I started with a BCom general degree because it gave me the chance to explore different subjects like accounting, economics, management, industrial psychology, and of course, information systems. And over time, I found myself drawn more and more to information systems because I could see how relevant it was becoming in a world that was becoming more digital. And technology was changing the way people lived and the way people worked. And I wanted to be part of that. So I chose it as a major. Then I went to do my honors in information systems, where I graduated cum laude and top student of my class. Then I pursued a master's, and now I'm doing my PhD at the University of the Western Cape.
Mariam, you look pretty young to be embarking on your PhD journey. Um, and I kind of, really applaud you for that. I'm not going to ask you how old you are. We don't like to give away our ages, but you do look very, very young. So hats off to you. What inspired you to focus on the ethical use of generative AI in higher education?
So, what drew me to the topic was really the moment that we found ourselves in, which was in 2022, 2023. So, when I was preparing for my PhD, tools like ChatGPT, as we all know, it was becoming more widely used. And there was lots of excitement, lots of hype, and obviously lots of fear. And there was not enough thoughtful discussions about what responsible use actually looks like in higher education. And at the time, I was working in academia at a different institution, and I could already see that students were using these tools, but often without proper guidance. And at the same time, universities are trying to respond and figure out this whole new phenomenon of Gen AI tools. Some were cautious, some wanted to ban it, and others just begin to embrace it. And as I read more on the topic in the literature, I realized that Gen AI brings real concerns around bias, misinformation, privacy, and of course, over reliance. But at the same time, research was showing that simply banning these tools was not realistic, nor was it sustainable. students are going to encounter these tools in the world of work, especially when they graduate. So the real question became for me is, how do we help students to use these tools ethically and responsibly in higher education? And for me, it felt like something important and something meaningful to commit my PhD to. Because as you know, a PhD, you have to be married to it. So I needed to be married to a 5-year topic, and I found that, or I felt that Gen AI tools within higher education is something quite meaningful.
Okay, so from your research, what are the biggest opportunities AI presents for students in education? And I bring this issue up in most of my interviews when we're discussing AI technology and how the world is evolving around AI, and the rapid uh, pace that technology is actually progressing at. And the one
Mhm.
thing, very especially in a third world country like South Africa, I worry about the employment situation. There is this fear that AI and technology may overtake lots and lots of jobs. We may lose jobs through the use of AI and technology, obviously. Um, I was having a discussion with someone the other day, and this young girl was talking about, she's only 13, and what she'd
Mhm.
like to study. She said, "Oh, I think I'd like to go into some sort of a research field, medical research." Her
Mhm.
dad piped up and said, by the time you study and enter the job market, doing, focusing on that type of work, AI will have overtaken that, and that might not be a relevant um, job for you to go in. It would become probably obsolete. So, with all of this in mind, Mariam, how do you respond? And how do you allay the fears of young people who are now wanting to embark on careers and not sure if their chosen professions will still be relevant, never mind in the next 5 years' time, in the next year or two?
So before I answer that question, I'll start with the biggest opportunities that they present for students first, and then we'll get into the next part of how do you know that the job you're going to do in the next 10 years will actually be the job that you are going to do after you have studied. So currently, AI does represent or present real opportunities if it is used correctly. When I say correctly, you are verifying the output. You're not just taking AI outputs as facts. So for students, it can help them to brainstorm, unpack difficult concepts, improve their writing, and support them in very practical ways. It can become like a personalized tutor. And for educators, it can help them to plan, to generate examples, and even present concepts to different learners in different kinds of ways. But I think it's important to note that AI should not replace thinking, critical thinking. It should serve as a supportive learning tool. Students still need to engage, like I said, with the material and make sense of it for themselves. So there's a lot of opportunities for AI, but the value comes when AI is used as a supportive tool rather as a shortcut. And then your next part of the question was, what about the job? So there are lots of hypes and lots of fears around this what we call as AI tools. And I would always encourage students, especially when we had open day now, do some research on your own, find out what interests you, and then work from there. Do some research and see what kind of jobs will be not absolute, but where can your qualification take you within the next 10 years as the world is evolving? Because as a student, that's what I did before I chose information systems. I looked at what is going to be happening or in the next 10 to 15 years, because obviously you want to do a qualification where you can change your mind. So for example, if I'm doing information systems, I can become a business analyst, a project manager, a systems analyst. I can do different kinds of roles. I'm not stick to one, because I may be feeling different in the next 10 years and have a PhD but want to go into corporate. So you always have to ensure that the degree that you're doing is quite diversified. But if you go into a degree like law, be sure that that's where you want to be for quite a while, because obviously that's it's more narrow compared to information systems degree, I would say. But I think the fear is there because there's a lot of misinformation about these AI tools that are currently out there, especially Gen AI. But I think what people forget is AI has always been around. It's not something that is new. It's just these different kinds of tools that make it easier for you to use, like ChatGPT. But AI has always been there. And AI is supposed to hallucinate. It's supposed to generate content. Doesn't have to be factual content.
Okay, let's go for an ad break. It is exactly 11:15. We're talking with Mariam Jacobs Basadien, PhD candidate and NGap lecturer at UCT. Don't go away. Still more to unpack with Mariam on the show this morning.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
For too many communities across Africa and the world, access to clean water remains a dream. At African Muslims Agency, we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. Sponsor a water well for only 16,500 Rand or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Africa or Afghanistan. With water comes food, health, education, and growth. Give water, give life with Africa Muslims Agency.
Hey Gulam,
Yeah?
did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. It's exactly 17 after 11 o'clock. We are talking with Mariam Basadien, pardon, let's just get that name correct. Mariam Jacobs Basadien, and we're talking AI. And of course, we have already congratulated her on her being chosen as the PhD candidate. So I am hearing a bit of interruption in the background. I'm not sure if it's from my side or your side, Mariam.
I don't think it's from my side.
All right. No worries. Let's continue. Let's look at ethical risks and also academic integrity. Or is the misuse of AI already a serious issue?
So, from my research, there are lots of ethical concerns of AI use in universities. These includes academic integrity, plagiarism, privacy, misinformation, and as I mentioned before, over-reliance of these tools. But academic integrity is the major one because universities are still trying to understand when AI supports learning and when it crosses the line into misconduct. And then we move on to the accuracy of AI generated information, whether it reflects bias, what happens when you put your data into these systems. Because as you know, AI tools are black boxes. We don't know where they are getting this information from. And over reliance is another important issue because if students depend too heavily on these AI tools, it can weaken their critical thinking and their over reliance. The question where you ask, is it AI already a serious issue? I would say the concern is real, but I don't think that we should respond in panic because misuse is already happening and universities are and should take academic integrity seriously. But I do not think the solution is fear driven or simply banning the tools. What AI has done is force universities to rethink what integrity looks like within this new context. So, yes, there are serious concerns around students passing off AI generated content as their own. But there's also an opportunity here for universities and institutions to actually redesign assessments and communicate the expectations of how to use AI tools more clearly and teach students what ethical AI actually looks like. So I would not say the concern is overstated, but I would say the response needs to be thoughtful and balanced. And currently, as it stands now, universities are developing, and some have already developed AI policies within South Africa. Between the 26th of Feb till the 28th of Feb last year, 2025, there were about 12 universities that actually have policies but with regards to the 26 of African universities. There were 12 of them already developed from frameworks or ethical guidelines. So universities are taking the first step to establishing ethical and responsible AI tools.
So would you say that that universities can integrate AI tools without compromising learning? And how would that kind of come across to you when you apply your critical thinking to a question like that? How would you translate it to the students? That's number one. And earlier on, you were responding to me, you spoke about that boundary that can be very easily crossed. Can you give us an example of that ethical boundary? What does it look like? How does one then realize on both sides, the university and on the part of the students that we're on slippery ground here?
Okay, so before there were guidelines, students would just be using AI tools as they found fit because there wasn't an established guideline to say how to use AI tools. Because before the AI tools became prominent within higher education, we had a thing called academic integrity, and everyone knew they have to have the whole plagiarism declaration. But plagiarism declaration is one thing, and AI use is a different kind of declaration. So as a student, I would say when you are using these AI tools, you need to declare how you have used it. Have you used it to brainstorm? Have you used it to improve your grammar? That is when you're using it ethically. Or if a lecturer says, okay, it looks like you've used AI, can you show me how you have used AI? And you need to present the prompts. If you don't represent the prompts, then surely you haven't used it ethically and responsibly for your context or for your assignment, right? So that is why universities are actually putting out these policies here. They are not banning it. They're not saying you can't use it, but we need to use it in a way that doesn't diminish your critical thinking.
You also talked about plagiarism. That's very concerning, is it not? And I think that cuts right across the board, not only at university, but issues around journalists, authors, etc. Their work can and does so very easily plagiarized and passed off as other people's work.
Since plagiarism is a big issue, but like we have tools in place like Turnitin that checks whether you have plagiarized. But I don't think students understand how Turnitin also works, which is also a tool, but I don't think they understand the way it works because Turnitin looks for matches in text. But if you have cited the source correctly, it's not plagiarism. Um, so that's also like when I go to campus and students ask me, how much was my percentage be for plagiarism? And I'm like, I have to check your Turnitin report to see if you have actually plagiarized. Because the tool, the software is just a match, a text matcher, I would say.
Okay, we're going to wrap up now. Is there anything else of importance you'd like to share with us regarding AI technology and the rate at which it is actually escalating? I hear people, in in these spaces, in the spaces of technology, suggesting that whatever is relevant today might be irrelevant, never mind 5 years, it might be irrelevant in 2 years' time. That indicates just how rapidly AI is developing. What are your concerns around something like that, the rapid development of AI
It's
and
very
technology
concerning.
as a whole? Pardon, and technology as a whole, obviously.
So it's quite concerning because we have different ways of technology that's taking place. So as you mentioned, Gen AI may not be a thing, a concept in the next 2 to 3 years because I'll just give you an example. I wrote a chapter of my PhD 2 years ago. We were on about ChatGPT 2.5. We are now at 5.1, roughly there now. So even the AI tool is rapidly changing. Maybe in 2 years' time, we'll be having smart AI, and it's difficult for universities to keep abreast with these new kinds of tools that are coming to the fore. So it is quite concerning because we have to try to keep up to pace with these AI tools, but also redesign our teaching methods alongside these rapidly developing AI tools. So there's a big concern related to that. But with regards to students, they are also using these new tools that's coming to the fore. And I would always tell the students, know what your institution's rules are in relation to AI use and follow your university guidelines, and also check whether your faculty, your department, or your course has its own AI policy, because that's really important. And if you're using AI, you feel like, no man, I'm not using it correctly, you probably are not. And then the last thought that I would say is that I believe that AI is here to stay. Whether it is a different kind of AI in the next 10 years, it's here to stay. But our responsibility is to shape how these AI tools is used. And if we approach it thoughtfully, if we approach it ethically, and with our local realities in mind from South African perspective, like digital equality, access, and the like, it can become a tool that will strengthen teaching and will strengthen learning as well, rather than to undermine it. And I'd like to leave the listeners also with like a sense of hope that with the right guidance, with the right values, and with the right conversations, AI can be used to strengthen education rather than weaken it. And I hope that the young people that are listening and young women that are actually listening, I hope that they also belong in these kinds of spaces that I find myself in and within the STEM field and in these kinds of conversations, because we need more women to be in the AI field.
Absolutely. We are going to wrap up in literally a minute or two, but I certainly need to have a follow-up discussion with you. There's so much more to explore. And of course, just the way social media has taken the world by storm. But let's leave that for another discussion, hopefully very soon. What I'd like to wrap up with is asking you this question, which I'm sure everybody has been asking you as well. Um, what is being selected for the ECI's 2026 Doctoral Consortium mean for you and more importantly for your research?
So, for the listeners who may not know, ESIS stands for the European Conference on Information Systems. So, being selected for the doctorate consortium really, really means a lot to me. And on a personal level, it's very affirming knowing that the work that I am doing actually matters, and it's being recognized beyond South Africa. And academically, it's also a valuable opportunity because I get to engage with leading scholars in my field, receive feedback, and be part of a global information systems community. And because the consortium is by invitation and nomination only, I really do see it as an honor and as a responsibility. And coming from South Africa, and especially from the Cape Flats, opportunities like this are like deeply meaningful. So I hope to present my research and my context really well. And my stance is always, if your current circumstance shouldn't define your future you. So this is really, really means a lot to me to be selected just as one of 20 candidates. And it's my first time applying. So it really, really means quite a bit to me.
Subhanallah, are you really my final question. Are you able to share your subject matter, your dissertation with us here and now, or would you like to leave it for another time? Are you allowed to share it?
So I haven't completed my dissertation as yet. So I'm still busy with it, but I have published a paper that just came out now where I look at the 26 South African universities, and what are their AI policies and guidelines set for how students are able to use these tools. So the paper has been published about 2 days ago. So I will definitely share it with the team in case anybody would like to read what are the different South African universities saying about AI use within higher education.
Well, I'd like to get a hold of a copy, but we will talk about that a little, I suppose, off air, and would love to explore, this whole subject with you in more detail at a future date, inshallah. When you're ready for us, we look forward to you shouting out to us. All the very best. You've done us as a Muslim community and us as Muslim women very, very proud. May Allah be with you always, inshallah, and may you truly reach the highest of levels in your field. Go well, keep well, and assalamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is exactly 11:31 a.m. and of course that does mean an ad break. When we get back, we'll be talking with Naima Dango, another dynamic woman, and we're going to be looking at parenting, inshallah.